Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for this exclusive customer walkthrough of SuperOps's network monitoring. We are super excited to show off everything that we've built over the last few months. So we're just going to give this another minute to just let people join and settle in, and we'll just get started. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you can just start asking them in the Q&A section, or if you just want to send us a few messages, the chat is always open. We highly encourage you to just have any conversations going on your end, and we'll respond to you at the end of the session, right? We will have like a detailed Q&A session near the end, so you can definitely look forward to that. And yeah, we'll just give it a minute and we'll get started. All right, folks, I think we can get started right about now. So yes, to all of the folks who just joined, welcome to our walkthrough of SuperOps's network monitoring. We wanted to do this especially for our customers because we've basically done a whole lot of discovery and a whole lot of research into how we can basically just reinvent the entire network monitoring experience from the ground up. And that's basically influenced a lot of the ways in which we've tried a lot of these things differently, right? So what we want to do is basically talk about how we can really just change the entire experience. And we want to also make sure that you're able to navigate through these changes and understand the platform and what it's trying to do. So that's kind of where we're coming from, and that kind of gave birth to this session, you would say. So I'm joined by Anirudh, our product manager on the RMM side, who's basically going to be spearheading the session, who's going to be sharing a lot of his insights on how we came to make certain decisions in the first place. Will be taking you through all of these different modules, different flows, and all of that. So yeah, we're just going to get started where Anirudh will probably be starting with his presentation. Anirudh, so go ahead. It's all yours.
Thanks, Manish, and thanks, folks. It's good to see a lot of you joining in on a Monday morning or evening, depending on where you are. I'm Ani. I'm the product manager for the RMM side of things at SuperOps's, and I'm really excited to have this call today with you folks because the early access, we've just launched the early access program for network monitoring for all of you customers, and we are engaging and onboarding in a phased manner. Those of you who are interested, few of you might already have it enabled in your instances, and we are in the process of enabling to the rest of you folks. So we're doing this over this week and next, where we'll be enabling to almost all of our customers for early access. Again, another pointer in terms of what we support right now from a scope perspective, SuperOps's network monitoring right now in the early access can support 4 network device types, namely routers, switchers, firewalls, and printers. So we are starting with the first four, which we feel comprises of a majority of the network devices in your asset landscape, and we will keep on adding more device types such as access points, your NAS, your EPS, UPS, VoIP devices, IP cameras, and so on. So all of that we're just going to keep adding in phases. You guys know we ship fast, and when we ship, it just takes a few weeks between the first version and the next. So that's going to keep on adding the device types. And right now, if you look at routers, switches, firewalls, and printers, we have shipped both discovery as well as monitoring of these devices. When I say discovery, what I mean by that is able to, all of you able to use a probe to find all the network devices in a particular subnet and then start monitoring them once you add them. So without further ado, I'll just get into the setup of network monitoring, how you might have to start doing this, what might be the first few steps, right? As you all might know, we have gone ahead with the probe concept, wherein you will require at least one probe on a particular network or subnet to monitor all the other devices on that particular network. And for that probe to work, the first step is always the credential definition, depending on which protocol that we are on. So Most of the devices assume would be either in V2 or V3, that is SNMP V2 or V2C or SNMP V3, while there might be some legacy systems still operating in V1. So irrespective of that, the first step would of course be for us to define credentials. So our request here would be, we have two places how you can define the credential. One, in the user journey itself, in the journey while you are setting up the scan and the subnet, you can do that. Or you could come here and as a one-time activity, set up the credentials. Say, for example, I'm setting this up for a particular client called HubSpot. HubSpot HQ is the site. The credential can be at a client level or at a site level. Site level is not mandatory. So if there is going to be one credential that's applicable to all network devices across the client, then you could just have one. Or if you have one credential specific to a site or multiple credentials per site, you can enter that. We will use all the credentials that are applicable for that client or site, and we will iteratively check which credential works for which device. Say, for example, on a site, you have 3 credentials that works on, say, 30 or 40 network devices. We would actually use all the 3 and ascertain which asset is being mapped to, and then we would start using that particular credential against that particular device. So you don't need to map it at an asset level or a site level. Just bring all the credentials that you have for the client, and we will take care of the association and mapping. So I'm just doing a sample one for, say, a particular client and site HubSpot. Say it's a V1, V2C, or V3. For simplified purposes, I'll just do it right here. You could specify the probe. You could give the read and the write community. You could specify the probe that you have enabled for SNMP. If you want to give, a timeout, I would recommend, say, 3300 milliseconds, and SNMP retries in terms of how many retries our probe should be doing before it deems a particular device as failed and not responding. So you could come here to the credentials page in the settings, in under asset management, credential definition. This is going to be used for your SNMP. You could create the list inventory of all the credentials that you're using. So once this credential is set up, I would like to take you to another setting or admin or setup kind of a page. This is the asset class page, folks, where a lot of you would be already familiar with, where earlier you would only see a Windows, Mac, or Linux machine. But after this early access program is enabled for your accounts, you would be able to see the additional device types or the asset classes, such as your printers, routers, switches, and firewalls. And if you are, going into any of those asset classes, you will see the basic default fields that we have actually saved. We are in the process of adding custom fields also to the asset classes. So you could have custom fields depending on the asset types. There's a second tab that we have introduced here for these network devices, where all the OIDs, the monitors or the sensors, however you want to call it, the monitors are basically the metrics, the OIDs, objective identifiers, for each of these devices. We have already pre-configured all of these monitors depending on the asset class or device type. Say for routers, we have brought in all the, say, top 30 or 35 or 40 monitors that we think MSPs would be interested in, and we have actually configured them already. So for you, it's just a click of a button, where if you're in case interested in, say, an interface index, you could just enable it, or if you're not, you could just toggle it off. If you're not interested in something like, say, MTU or speed, you could just toggle it on or off depending on that, and you could save it. Depending on that, you would be able to monitor that particular asset for all of these metrics, right? So 2 setup pages we have seen so far. One is the credential setup, and the second is the asset class setup, where you can switch on and switch off those metrics and monitors that you are interested in or not. Once that is done, we are going to go into the journey of setting up the subnet and starting to scan and monitor them. So here, if you see in the workspace, my workspace, under different modules, you'll see a new module, network monitoring, that we have introduced in early access in beta. So here, when you go, you will see 3 new folders or a separate section on the left pane. which is the network monitoring beta. Within that, we have the probes folder, network scans folder, and the discovered assets folder. So the first step is to actually define a probe with which you are going to monitor the entire network or subnet. So I'll first take you through how to add a probe, which is the first step here. We have two approaches for adding a probe. One is you could convert an existing asset into a probe. So which are the assets that could act as a probe? We have a probe support for Windows, Mac, and Linux. So if you already have your assets where SuperOps agent is installed, be it a Windows, Mac, or a Linux machine, you could convert that asset and make it act as a probe for a particular subnet for monitoring the other devices, network devices on that particular probe. Or if you would like, you could just download and install a new asset. So what this means is all our agents, all the SuperOps agents that are already installed can be converted into a probe. All of these are sleeping probes. You could just activate any of them. So let me just go ahead and create or convert one of the existing, say, assets into a so this is an asset that is already there in the system. I'm just monitoring it. It's a Windows desktop that I would want to use. And immediately we pick up the local subnet that this particular asset is present on. And also the credential that I've entered for this particular client and site. So all of that has been picked up. Here you could save it, or you could save and scan. What we mean by here scan is the discovery, where using this probe and the credential you've provided, we go and scan this entire subnet to find all the network devices that are available. So once we initiate a scan there, you would see that this particular screen where all the scans have been initiated, and you would see that this particular client and site has a scan in progress. This might take a few minutes depending on what class we are actually querying it, how many assets are there, etc. We'll see some enhancements also to take you show you how much time it's taking or how much time is remaining, so that you know how much time the scan is going to take to complete. Once the scan is completed, this is how the view will look like. You will have something called as known assets and unknown assets. So what again we have done here is just let's take switches as an example for an asset class here. Within switches, we have scored through globally top 5,000 switches that we see MSPs use and their clients use. So we have converted, or we have entered all of them into our backend library, all the MIBs and the OIDs. So you don't have to manually enter the OID for each and every monitor or every asset you want to monitor. So we have done that so that automatically at the click of a button, you will just be able to start monitoring them again. And hence all of those are called as known devices. So known assets are those assets that's there in our library, and with the click of a button, you will be able to start monitoring them. It's as easy as that. No manual effort of actually configuring OIDs, custom OIDs, and so on. The concept of unknown assets is these are, say, the other network monitoring devices that answer to that particular credential which was discovered, but we have not yet supported it through our library. Hence, you won't be able to immediately start monitoring them. But as soon as an unknown device is detected in our system by any of SuperOps's agent, our backend gets a notification so that we'll immediately add that to the library. And within a day or two, you should be able to get it back to monitoring. We are also looking at another way to get manually allow you folks to configure this so that you can immediately start monitoring those devices, even though we don't support them from the library. So we're trying to think around, innovate around that piece too. But in early access as part of beta, this is how it's going to be, folks, for the next couple of weeks. But we do have enhancements for you to manually push things from unknown to known. And fail assets, of course, are those assets that don't have SNMP enabled, or they did not respond to the credentials, or timeout error. Multiple reasons could be there. The reason of that will also be listed here in terms of why we are calling it as failed. So right now you would be able to discover all the assets that responded to your credential from the probe of the same subnet. And right now, again, as I called out earlier, the scope is all your routers, switches, firewalls, and printers would be the devices for now that you can find in the known assets. Your other network devices would either be in unknown or failed. As we add more support to the other device types, you would start seeing them here and you could start monitoring them at the click of a button. So once you have added them to discovery, they will start getting listed in the all assets page. We have also created default folders here in the asset views for the device type, say your routers, switches, firewalls. So you could go into any of those folders to see the particular router or switch that you have added to monitoring. It's as easy as that, folks. And uh, again, before I get into the details of any of these assets, there's one other journey I want to talk about, which is in case you have a particular subnet which is not local to that particular probe, but you want to add it manually, you could do that too. Say for HubSpot HQ as the site, you have a local subnet, right? You could actually add this subnet separately. This already has a probe, so the probe will automatically start searching for this subnet manually also. So we have two options: intelligently score the subnet on which the probe is present, the local private one, or you can manually add another subnet and use the probe of that particular site to scan and start monitoring those devices, right? uh, Folks, I'm expecting to take in questions by the end of the session, so please start sharing your questions, whatever it may be, in the Q&A section here, so that towards the end we'll dedicate 15-20 minutes of time just to look at the questions there. Now let me just move to any of the device types that we added. All of the device types that we added, all the devices that we added for monitoring, this is the asset summary screen. Say I've come into a router right now, the last 24 hours availability. All of these are the metrics and monitors that we enabled from the asset class admin section, the configuration section. The CPU usages of all the 23 different CPUs, the memory of the 23, the interface details. We go to a lot of depth to get all the different types of data that this particular router would need for you folks to successfully monitor and manage them. We also have a detailed section. As you all know, this particular interface we've tried to retain here. Within the details, you could actually get into any of the specific OIDs or metrics, be it CPU, be it memory. You would also see we have started to support time series data for the network monitoring network devices. So you could, compute any particular action, say on a daily basis. I want the average for say a 1 week period, and we will show that. So we support all of the operations. You could do an average operation, max, min, count, sum, any operation on the data that is fetched for the respective time series metrics. You will be able to do that. You could, again, all of the OIDs that are present there, you can add here. Very shortly, we will also be supporting manual addition of OIDs and monitors, that is. So if in case you feel you don't have a particular monitor that we have as part of our default library, you can manually add those monitors as well. It is not currently part of the scope right now in the early access, but very shortly you would see that you would be allowed to do that also. So just moving on, you saw the summary, you saw the details, and then the network interfaces. So you have all the network interfaces along with the details of each interface, with the interface type, the speed, the physical address, the admin, as well as the operational statuses. With respects to associating network devices to other PSA items such as tickets, you could do that already. You could have your tickets come in and you can associate them to the network devices that you are already monitoring. You just have to add them to monitoring. After that, you could associate and link a ticket with any router, switch, firewall, or printer. And you could also create alerts. So within the settings page, just like how you configure alerts for a normal workstation or server, you would see your routers, switches, firewalls, and printer policies also listed. So you could just go into any of those asset classes and you could configure alerts just like how you do. So all the monitors that you are monitoring from the asset class, all of them would be available for you to create an alert. Any metric, any monitor, if you're monitoring it, you can create an alert on it. So all these are part of our usual suspect policy management, either in hierarchical or in the group based type here, and all of them would in turn be created as alerts and policies. So once you've created that policy, it would be listed here, and any alerts that have been created would be associated here. So I'll take a pause here, folks. So what we've seen so far is how you could set up the network monitoring for SuperOps. First step is the credential definition, followed by the admin setting up of the monitors. That's an optional step where if you want, you can tinker around with the monitors, the specific metrics you want to see, and you could turn off the ones you don't want to see. Then you could come into the network monitoring beta tab here, this particular section. You could set up your probe. You could then initiate scans. And once the scan is completed, you can start adding devices and start monitoring them. So another, 1 second. Again, this is for the first time discovery. You could also set up scans to initiate on a periodic basis. Say you want this scan, this discovery to run on a continuous frequent basis. You could set up a daily, weekly, or a monthly schedule so that every day once, the minimum support we have right now is daily once. So daily once, this particular scan would be conducted, and any new device that is discovered, you would see that as part of the newly discovered assets within known, unknown, or failed here. So you don't need to associate or redo the scan on a daily basis. We do it automatically if you set up the schedule from right here. All right, folks. So, that was a short, crisp a demo of how we have done network monitoring early access scope right now for our customers. I'll maybe pause to take in a few questions that are there. The first one is Alexander. Alexander's question is, will you support custom OIDs and MIBs? Custom OIDs, yes, Alexander. So currently we don't have that, but a few weeks down the line, we would allow you to add custom OIDs if you feel you can't see the OID that you want currently to be monitored. So we will allow for that. MIBs upload is not something we are looking at right now, but something that we would maybe look at post release, how we can cater to that, but not something on the cards right now.
All right, folks. So we just have a little bit of an engagement with you folks before we dedicate the rest of the session to Q&As, because we just have like a couple of questions to ask, because where we really need your inputs, because we've always believed in co-building with the MSPs that we cater to, and we also want to make sure that we're able to deliver the best possible platform that can really make a difference in the way you run your operations on a daily basis, right? So we just want to run a couple of polls, and we just want to see if that's something that you'd be interested in, right? So 1 second, and you should be able to see it on your screen right now. All right, folks. So for our first poll, we just want to ask you, because we are constantly looking to expand the number of devices that we support. So we just want to understand what your biggest priority is and which device we should just pick up next, because that really adds a lot of insight into what our engineering picks up, the things that we'll be able to deliver to you over the next few weeks, and what the final finished product will look like just on the date of release, right? So your input, especially in this place, is super valuable to us and can really make our day. So please, guys, do vote, and please let us know.
Guys, we are seeing some good engagement here. Just bringing everyone's attention. We have a live poll. If you're not responded, we'll give it another 20 seconds. So access points are the runaway leader. We see a lot of um, choices for access points, followed by NAS devices and UPS. So great engagement here, guys. I think we have
Yeah, and
most.
and if there are options that you have that you don't see here, please do drop that on chat as well. So because we will be taking a look into that as well. We want to make sure that your voice is heard. Just drop whatever options that you would like to see next on chat, and we'll make sure we look at those as well. All right, folks, I think this poll is done. And that does lead us to our to my second question, right? Because while we want to make sure that we're delivering the best platform possible for MSPs like you, and it is we're not able to do it without your feedback, right? And we want to make sure that we're able to collate as much feedback as possible from like a diverse audience from everywhere around the world. So we want as many people onto the early access program as we can, which is why we would just want to know if you're not already on the early access user program, and if you're looking to join, just maybe just answer the poll. And if you're already part of the program, just let us know there as well, and we'd be more than happy to add you there. Right? I'll just have this poll on the screen for like another 10 to 20 seconds. And if you have responded yes, then I'd be more than me and Ani will probably just reach out to you and as a follow up, and we'll take you through each of the steps to onboard you as an early access user.
Another 10 more seconds, folks, and
Yeah.
then we'll close the poll to get into the Q&A section.
All right, folks. So I think we were good to wrap up this poll as well. Thank you so much for your response. We've seen so many of you folks just want to join here. We will reach out to you as once the session is over the next few days, just onboard you. Please do check your inbox. And also, we just want to give you a quick sneak peek into what we have planned next. We wanted to do that before the Q&A session because we realized you might have some questions regarding those things as well. So I think Ani will just quickly run you through run you through all of the things that he has in store.
So, folks, once the early access is sort of completed, we have enough participants, and we reach a stable state with respect to the library, the OID library, and the asset support, and all of that. We would be going for a release sometime early next year. So once we do that release, the roadmap ahead, right? It would be three-pronged. On one side, we would want to keep on adding additional assets. Like the first poll question that we had, we want to support more device types. So access points, NAS devices, VoIP phones, IP cameras, UPS, so SNMP monitoring for servers. So all of the other network device types we would want to start adding. Another one, again, a quick feature that we will look to introduce is ICMP ping, or immediate ping of devices. That is something that we have already started working on. So on a particular network device right now, you won't be from early access, you won't be able to ping it, but very shortly you would be able to ping them immediately to see what is the packet loss, what is the latency, what is the RTT, the round trip time, and all of that. So that is another thing that we are working on as next. And also the next big milestone after network monitoring would be the entire journey of discovery and onboarding of devices. So our ideal state for this would be, get one asset as a probe in a subnet, use that asset to discover all the devices, irrespective of it being network devices, workstations, servers, laptops, whatever it is. Discover all those assets, and at the click of a button, push the agent to the devices that you want to install the agent on, and whether if it's a network device, then start monitoring them. So for your workstations, laptops, and servers, after discovery, automatically push it through one of the protocols that we might start supporting, provided that the probe is a DC server and so on. So we'll get to the specifics when we release that. But our ideal vision, end vision, is a very seamless frictionless onboarding where you use a probe to discover all the assets on a particular subnet. And then with the click of a button, you're able to install our SuperOps agent on those devices where the OS is available, and for network devices, start monitoring them. So those would be the big three next big ticket items that we as a team are working on post network monitoring, folks. So if you have any questions regarding them too, please share them here.
All right, Annie, thank you so much for that. So I think the only section remaining for this session is the Q&A. Given that we have a bit of time left for the session, we'll try to take as many questions as we can. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us. We're right here to just make sure that we answer all of your questions. The next question here is from Terry O'Donnell. Do you want to go?
Yeah.
Ahead?
So Terry's question is it possible to use the discovery function to discover PCs and servers on a subnet and then use this to deploy the SO agent? So Terry, I think you had shared this question before I got into this particular topic on roadmap ahead. Yes, as I explained, you would be able to. That is what we will be working on once we close down the early access program and get this network monitoring out there. That is the next big thing that we'll be working on. You would be able to discover PCs and servers and click of a button, deploy SO agent. Ben's next question. So thanks, Siri, for that question. I would move on to the next question, Ben Vader. So Ben does the network devices count against the endpoint count? So Ben, when in the final legs of deciding how we want to price this, so we're not yet decided on whether it would be an endpoint pack or is it an asset pack, separate add-on. So you would be very first. This group here would be the first set of folks who will get to know once we are ready to roll out the pricing strategy or the pricing for the network monitoring side of things. So hold on a couple of more weeks and you guys should be able to see how we want to price this. Dominic Rolt has a question where, are you going to provide remote access to FTP, SSH or HTTPS? Yes, Dominic. So our product lineup, so how we look at network management as a whole, we have split that journey into multiple milestones. So the first one is network monitoring and discovery. The second one would be troubleshooting, where we are looking at tunneling, just what you've asked, remote access, secure remote access using the other protocols, SSH, Telnet, HTTPS, TCP/IP, you name it. So CLI, that would be the next milestone. So monitoring and discovery followed by remote troubleshooting, and then we would look at other aspects such as configuration management, backup, and so on. So this is the journey we are on. And mind you, folks, we are working on this in parallel with all the other enhancements and features that we want to do on the desktop monitoring and server monitoring side as well. So it's going to be a long roadmap, but we have a dedicated team working on the network monitoring, network management side of things. So we'll try to ship it as quickly as possible. So network monitoring followed by remote access is the plan ahead for the next 2 quarters for us. Thanks, Dominic, for that question. The next question is eventually support a network mapping feature. Yes. So we will have topology mapping come out. That is one of the other features that you would see once we release the product. So as I called out, monitoring, discovery, remote access, and topology mapping, that would round off the entire realm of monitoring. And once that is conquered, the next realm would be the management side of things, where we will be looking at config and backup and so on. So topology mapping is one of the features that will be part of the network monitoring piece. All of that is in the early stages of development. We would enable it to the set of customers and early access program as and when is available. It's just that we are taking a phased approach to roll this out in a chunking, iterative chunked manner, so that you get to see good quality value in each iteration and release that we come up with. And Matt Masoor has another question here where, he'd love to discover PCs that currently don't have the RMM agent installed. Yes, Matt. So once we support that discovery, you would be able to see, say, for example, you just scanned a subnet and it throws up, say, 100 results, right? 80 of them workstations and servers, out of which 70 already have SuperOps installed. So you just found out 10 assets that doesn't have a SuperOps installed agent installed on them, and at the click of a button, you would be able to install SuperOps on them, and the remaining 20 network devices out of the 100, you would start monitoring them at the click of a button. So that's the ideal journey that we want for you folks to have via SuperOps. It's just that the entire network monitoring is a product in itself, right? Just like the desktop management side of things, this is a product in itself, and we'll have to go through the motions to actually get to that final product. So we've started this journey, folks. This is the first iteration, and there are a lot more iterations coming up where we'll be shipping all the features that we just discussed on the call right now.
All right, folks. We've kind of run out of questions, and we'll probably hold the space for like another 30 seconds to see if you folks have any other questions. If not, we are good to wrap it up. But in the meantime, I just wanted to share my gratitude because none of this would be possible without the active participation, the feedback, the suggestions, all of the things that you've contributed in like such small and major ways. All of those things have shaped the product to be what it is today, and we just wanted to make sure that we showed that gratitude to you folks as well. So thank you so much for all of the participation, and we just want to and make sure that we collaborate with you in future and make this product something that can really make your day. All right, so we kind of don't have any more questions. Oh wait, okay, Steven has one more question for you. All right, Annie. So
can we monitor whether a VPN connection is up or has gone down and then generate tickets on it? So when it would depend on whether we have the right OID for that. Stephen Booth, the question is from Stephen Booth. So I will get in touch with you, Stephen, over email where we could discuss this particular solutioning and see how you could go about doing that. So from a high level, we do have the OIDs for VPN. So we'll reach out to you to get the solution with the current early access program itself.
all right, Steven, I hope that answers your question. We'll reach out to you offline anyway, and we'll make sure that you have the solution on hand as well. So all right, folks, I think it's time we wrap it up here. Thank you so much for participating today. We'll also be sending a recording of the session your way. So if you want to just recap and just take a look at it so that you're able to see how to get the best out of the network monitoring solution as well. All right, folks, thank you so much, and have a great evening or morning or wherever you're from. So.